Yes, sir. He's had a great season so far. Still, you know, got second, got beat by Hayden last week, but sporting that red plate, home race. He looked good earlier in practice, and yeah, what a better way to keep the momentum rolling for a W. Home race, nothing like it.
Yeah, here's that rhythm lane you're talking about. That's tough to go single over that tabletop. It's really steep on the backside and get that triple. Man, in free practice earlier today, you and I were watching it together, Adam. I mean, the best guys in the world were struggling with all of these rhythm lanes. It's going to be a really challenging track. And we didn't really see a guy nail it 2 laps in a row, so pay attention to that all day here in Glendale. There's
just different options. That's what I love. And here, it's same thing. A lot of guys doing what Julian's doing right now, going 2, 3, 3, double out. We did see Malcolm Stewart yesterday go 3 in, 3 and 4 out. So just a couple different options there. Really fast sand section right here into this wall. And this little rhythm right here, they've kind of changed around a little bit. Looks like that 3-3, what he just did, is probably going to be the best way.
Yeah, it's interesting coming into that section. The left side is built up, so you can do 3-3. The right side, the first one is really small. Right here is going 3-3 into that turn. And right there's an option line right there. There's an inside kind of berm that they built up, or you go outside like Juju just did, on off into a nice big set of whoops.
Yeah, and you see Juju getting into that turn. That's something you have to watch here at Glendale. As you see, he cases that rhythm section. And just expanding on your point, Justin, why that's so hard for these guys to do, they're doubling into that section with a lot of speed, and they're having to slow down to get the backside of that table perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what's interesting about this Glendale track is a lot of races and stadiums we go to now, the dirt's pretty soft, right? Well, we're here in the desert. The dirt's going to stay hard packed all day. And just walk us through how the track doesn't change near as much, even all night into the main events.
Yeah, like you said, Justin, this is way more, I would consider, of an old school supercross track, meaning there's not going to be a whole lot of ruts in most of these turns. So that's just going to open up the racetrack for these guys. They're going to be able to, it's going to open up some block passing. It just opened. You can use all of the track here just because, like you said, the dirt is hard. It holds up throughout the day. And personally, it was one of my favorite tracks to come to for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Smith on screen right now. Little bit of a, not a struggle last week. He was riding great, but win for that second place position on the last lap, trying to get by Julian Beaumaire. Goes down in the whoops. But hey, that's Jordan, right? You have to go for those points. He's in this championship battle. I look for him to rebound with a podium here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. He was going for it in good Jordan Smith fashion. As we take a look at Michael Mosman here, absolutely ripping through the whoops, and that's just another option right there, going double on off that table. To me, the fastest way to do it is to go over that table and triple, Justin, but it's going to be all about doing a line that you can do every single lap without making that one big mistake that forces you to roll or double the jumps.
Yeah, let's see what Michael does out of this turn right here. He goes double, so that's jumping 2 of them. Then he goes triple over all 3, and then double out, but he doesn't land on the backside of the double. He launches out into that flat section right there. And how about this sand section, AC? I mean, very difficult. A lot of times they'll really kind of differentiate the two. Here, the track crew's done a great job. They've just kind of said, hey, it's up to you guys wherever you want to go. So that's going to change each and every lap.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We see Mosman, he's put together a pretty good lap here. He's a guy he's had some speed, some raw speed so far this year. We're yet to see him up on the podium, but I like a track like this for him. West Coast kid, grew up kind of Northern California, really good on this dirt. You see he's kind of sticking that on-off 3 line. The only downside of that is you're having to go off that bigger jump there at the end of the rhythm section, catch a little bit more air. But let's see what time he's able to throw down right here, Justin.
Looks like Hayden Deegan's on top right now with a 101.4. Mosman goes to 6th with a 104.0. And walk us through that, Adam. So we talk about 5-footers and 3-footers. All these rhythm lanes, the jumps are different sizes. So walk through the viewers just about, you don't want to hit the big one, right? Because it sends you a little bit higher.
Exactly, Justin. And yeah, we call basically the smaller jumps that you see in kind of these long rhythm sections where the jumps are something like this, right? You want to try to jump over the tallest faces, so you don't want to be in the air, basically. You do not want to catch air. You want to be as low, get the power on the ground, and let's see what Joe does in this one. 2, 3, and then that that 2 out, they're able to kind of jump out off that 2. That's going to be a consistent line, but I'm curious to see if any 250 guys start hitting the triple out of that corner.
It looks like so. He went to the right there, left on screen, double, triple into that turn. And this next rhythm lane has been giving guys trouble as well, Adam.
Yeah, and we saw Joe earlier in the day in free practice, that same triple, he just jumped right there. He went a little bit long, as you see him go to the inside, use that option before the whoops. He went a little bit long, and you remember, he's still dealing with those broken fingers, right? So for Joe, the timing, meaning getting both wheels on the downsides of the jumps instead of going long or short, is going to be extra important with those broken fingers. Pretty incredible what he's been able to do given that.
Yeah, and these wall jumps right here, a lot of guys are launching them out. I would not expect Joe to do that just because of his hand injury.
And did you see right there, you saw Joe hit that wall jump as he takes the hand off the bar to get a little breather there. He hit the wall jump kind of on an angle, just so he could carry a little bit more speed. Those riders going into a wall jump off a fast section like that, you're just having to brake so hard, Justin, that hitting it on angle allows them to carry a little bit more speed through there.
You mentioned off the top of the show, intensity. That's the word of the day. I absolutely agree. You're going to have to be so intense, but this track doesn't really allow it so much. You really need to be patient with these rhythm lanes. We've seen guys make a bunch of mistakes through here. There's Jet Reynolds launching that single. But talk about that. There's a fine line between intensity, I got to go, it's a triple crown, I need to get to the front, to really be impatient and make sure you land on the downside of all these rhythm lanes. Yeah,
like you said, Justin, it really is a fine line, because especially in these shorter main events today, and even qualifying, you know, normally when you're qualifying for gate pick in the heat race, right? So you have a little bit of leeway. Now you're taking your gate pick directly into the main event. So all these guys are just putting a little bit more emphasis on these practice times. And one thing, as he hits that 3 out, 3, 3, 2, I love that line right there outside. It's really important. Glendale is normally a racetrack that rewards intensity, meaning that you can put up, being more intense normally results in being faster. But because the dirt is really hard and slick, you have to be really careful with giving it too much gas in the middle of the turns. You don't want that back end to slide out on you. Let's see what Cody does here.
Look at this lap by Cody Schock. That was a great lap. I'm really curious what that goes. Only P7, 102.5, but still pretty close. Only about a second off the lead. So the leaders are tight here in this 250 Group A qualifying.
Yeah, and that just says a lot. We watched that whole lap, right? We watched that whole lap, and we're like, man, he may go P1 here, but it just shows how fast these guys are going.
Yeah, and this track's starting to develop a little bit, starting to see some shiny sections out there. You see the 79 of Max Miller out there doing some big rhythms, coming up a little bit short right there, scrubbing that double out. You're going to see the 450s in Group A qualifying coming up next. That's going to be a ton of fun, really competitive. But so far here in 250 Group A, Q1, Hayden Deegan on top with a 101.4. Cole Davies on your screen right there in second with a 101.5, so only 1/10 off, AC.
Yeah, and that 3 out, the triple out of that in that rhythm section, out of that inside rut, that's very hard to do. Sometimes, especially on a 250, when you're trying to hit a 3 out of a turn, it can be very hard to not rush the entrance of the turn because you're anticipating hitting that triple in the next lane. So just another example as he hits that another triple out here. And I really like this track for Cole. We've talked about how good he's been, and really it comes down to being polished.
Look at that whoop speed.
Wow.
You see, little mistake exiting.
Yep, you see right there, Justin, he gets over that tabletop perfectly. I think that rhythm section that he just hit after the whoops is going to be a massive deciding factor in tonight's main event.
Launches that single. Let's see if he goes to the top. Beaumaire actually went to the top while we were on Cole. He goes at another 101.4 for Cole Davies, so a little bit off of Julian.
Julian at a 1:09. Man, that's quick, Justin. That's quick.
And honestly, I almost said it. When Cole was coming to the finish, I thought that was going to go P1. That lap looked incredible. He did have a little mistake exiting the whoops, but that whoop speed, he did all the rhythm lanes that we believe are the fastest. Now these guys will go back to the truck and do some ghosting and check over footage to see exactly which rhythm lane, which combo is the fastest, but that lap was impressive.
It was impressive, and We saw his little mistake, the little front end tuck as the practice finishes up here, watching Joe Shimoda. We saw him you're carrying so much speed through those whoops, Justin. When you get into these 180-degree bowl corners here at Glendale, the ground is really soft, but it has some loose dirt right on the top. So if you come out of those whoops too fast, grab a little bit too much front brake, you can just get that front end kind of just sliding away from you a little bit here.
Hayden Deegan on screen, just on a little bit of a cruise lap, checking things out. Julian Beaumer, though, on top with a 1 minute flat 0.9, about half a second faster than Hayden Deegan. Hey, we know how competitive and how much confidence you can get from these